Elon Musk is putting out quite a few fires as we speak, and a lawsuit from Twitter is just one of them. Now his company SpaceX's subsidiary Starlink is losing out on almost $1 billion worth of subsidies because it failed to meet FCC regulations on a problem they were trying to solve, which is exactly what we'll be talking about in this video. So make sure to stay until the end to learn all about it. First up, what problem were they hoping to solve? So here's what's happening, folks. Starlink was launched by the billionaire in 2019. The company is an internet provider, but no, they're not like your usual internet company with tons of cables and a terrible customer service department that puts you on hold for a million hours. These folks are different. They're revolutionary, and if things go well, they could soon be changing the world drastically. The company operates by sending internet satellites into space. Starlink currently services 36 counties, but the main goal is to be able to provide internet to the whole world. Now think about the problem for a second. You're in a big city, let's say Sydney, and your internet is sufficient for you to carry on with your life. But the second you travel to a remote town, you start noticing that the internet just doesn't work. Why is that? Well, because if you're a traditional internet company, it's not really worth investing millions upon millions in infrastructure to service a town of 100 people. You're only getting a few thousand in revenue after shelling out boatloads of cash. It just doesn't reflect well in your annual report. So what do? You just ignore these folks and focus on the big cities where the real money is. And that's exactly the kind of problem Starlink was hoping to solve, with a little help from the FCC. So how do they plan to solve this issue? Folks, you know how we just mentioned tons of cables? Well, that's where the problem is. Setting up so many wires, erecting poles, and digging the ground can get expensive. So that's where Starlink comes in. So what does the company do? They have ground stations on Earth which beam data up to the satellites via radio signals. These radio signals travel through the vacuum of space to be received by satellites. They then relay the data back to users on Earth. It's pretty simple. That's how they plan to solve the issue. Since not a lot of things will be involved in the whole process, Starlink can now provide internet to the whole globe. They just need to get enough satellites up there. And since radio waves don't see cities or small towns or forests, they can travel to even the remotest corners of the planet. This is not only good for connectivity, but really good for safety. Many folks living in these areas have put their hopes in Elon's company, hoping they too can someday get wonderful internet. But it's not that easy, is it? Because the guy needs money, a lot of money, to make this happen. The number is estimated to be around $10 billion. Now, some of that money, approximately 10%, was supposed to come from the FCC. But no, the FCC refused. Here's why. But why did the FCC refuse the subsidy? In what was a major blow to the company, FCC denied SpaceX's bid for $900 million of subsidies last Wednesday. The subsidy was supposed to help the company provide internet to nearly 650,000 rural communities across 35 U.S. states. The FCC funding would have been part of a $9.2 billion Rural Digital Opportunity Fund, a fund aimed to bring Wi-Fi to remote areas in the U.S. Starlink wasn't the only company to be denied this subsidy. Las Vegas-based LTD Broadband was also denied. We're not going to get into the specifics of that in this video, but stay tuned for more. According to a press release by the FCC, Starlink failed to demonstrate that the provider could deliver the promised service. Although folks from Musk's two companies didn't really comment on the subject so far, the FCC chairwoman had a lot to say. She stated that we must put scarce universal service dollars to their best possible use as we move into a digital future that demands powerful and faster networks. We cannot afford to subsidize ventures that are not delivering the promised speeds or are not likely to meet program requirements. Yikes! It seems like maybe Starlink isn't as good and exciting as we first thought it was. The chairwoman didn't completely disregard the company. She stated that their tech does have real promise, but she also added that it doesn't make sense to fund tech that's still developing. So it's pretty clear that the FCC refused the subsidy because they don't believe the technology is useful so far, and because the company's internet isn't fast enough. Luckily, SpaceX is a privately traded company. Otherwise, its shares would have been nosediving due to a loss of investor confidence. Lastly, let's take a look at whether they've gotten any subsidies in the past and what their future looks like. In 2020, SpaceX won a subsidy from the FCC. It was hailed as a major win for the company. Folks even claim that the company now has an anchor customer, basically an assured source of revenue. The South African billionaire even delayed taking the company public because of this. But now, in what seems like a major blow, they might have to take it public anyways to fund their pursuit. Although the last time they got the subsidy, it was to service areas such as New York City and Miami, not rural areas. The company currently has a user base of over 400,000 1,000 subscribers. That seems like a lot, but it really isn't. They have a network of over 2,500 satellites in the Earth's lower orbit. The service is currently providing speeds between 100 to 200 Mbps. That's more than some cities. Yet the FCC wasn't happy with it. The future looks slow but promising. SpaceX recently sent 46 Starlinks up to space, and they plan to send even more up there by the end of the year. So, one by one, every region on the planet will have high-speed internet. Musk just needs to figure out the funding part of it all. 10% of their satellites up there don't work though. Will they replace them or fix them? We don't know. So that's also on their agenda. We're going to go out on a limb here and say that despite the FCC denial, things are looking pretty darn good. With that out of the way, folks, let's talk about some other things happening in the world of Musk and his companies. Other news. Okay, so your next Tesla could be built in Indonesia. If you're currently living in Australia or any of the countries close by, chances are that your Teslas are made in China. But China itself is such a huge market that its factories may not be able to meet a surge in demand in the coming few years. So now Musk needs to be building more and more gigafactories around the world. The EV manufacturer hasn't even started looking, but one contender has already put its hat in the ring: Indonesia. Joko Widodo, the Indonesian president, has urged the EV maker to start manufacturing its cars, as well as batteries, in the country. He stated that the country wants to build a huge ecosystem of electric cars, and also wants to draw on its huge natural resources to make the batteries. Currently, a lot of nickel leaves the country to manufacture batteries, and the president is considering an export tax to curb that. Instead, he wants the resource to be used within the country for the benefit of the country. This is great foresight and initiative by the leader to prepare the country for an all-electric world, not just as a consumer, but also as an exporter. Now let's discuss how the billionaire is just like us. Despite literally being the richest man on Earth with plans to colonize Mars, the guy has surprisingly relatable daily goals. He wants to revamp his daily routine. He's unhappy with how he starts his mornings. In a recent interview, he stated that the first thing he does when he wakes up is to check his phone. He believes that this could be detrimental to his health. But let's be honest here, 99% of us probably do the same thing. He claims that he spends the first 30 minutes of the day checking emails, but he'd rather be working out instead of doing that. Apparently, he does that because he's worried he's missed company emergencies while he was sleeping. Finishing up, apparently Elon Musk exaggerated his bots claim. This is awkward. Elon claimed that Twitter has about 20 to 90% of bots. 20 seems acceptable, yes, but 90%? Nah, that's crazy. Twitter said they only have 5% bots. Anyways, Botometer, an online tool that tracks spam and fake accounts, was used by Musk in a countersuit against Twitter. It stated that there are 33% bots on the platform. However, the creator of the Botometer, Kai-Cheng Yang, himself stated that the figure doesn't mean anything. That's because he says that their methodology is questionable, and neither did they approach him before using the tool. Yikes! Well, that's all we have for you guys today. Do you folks think that SpaceX's Starlink will be able to bounce back soon and achieve its goals without the help of the FCC? Let us know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. See you guys next time. Bye!